fine, and we are live in Cincinnati, Ohio at Lori Foster's Reader and Author Get Together. And I'm thrilled to be with Jocie. I have read her Mayson-Dickson series, and I just loved them. They're hilarious.
Thank you.
And so I'm going to let Jocie tell a little bit about herself, because she also writes in more than one genre. So we'll let you tell a little bit about yourself, and I'll do your books.
Okay, hi, I'm Jocie McKade, and as she said, I write a series called Mayson-Dickson, and basically it's two sisters who, after the death of their respective parent, single parent, they go to settle their estate and find out they are sisters, and in fact twin sisters. And one is from Boston, Massachusetts, and the other is from Talladega, Alabama. So trying to figure out the mystery of their parents' past brings them together. And they're not always a nice way, because sometimes Alabama and Massachusetts don't mix really well. And in the meantime, they kind of become detectives over a picture of margaritas. It's probably never a good thing to do that, but it works out for them. And so each book they're solving a murder mystery, because dead bodies literally fall on them, while trying to solve the mystery of their parents' past and deal with the fact that there's a Yankee and a rebel under the same roof.
Very good. So tell us a little bit about your other series.
The other series that I have, well, I actually have two. One is the Tea Leaf Reader. Lily Rockingham reads tea leaves in a mobile tea truck. And she kind of lets her leaves tell her where she needs to be to help someone, you know, that might need her tea leaf reading advice. They are mysteries, but they are what I call bloodless mysteries, because there's no dead bodies in these. They're just solving some sort of a mystery, a theft, or, you know, something simple, and they're very short reads. The other series that I have is called The Three Bears, and they are the Bear Brothers, B-A-E-R, and it's a romantic comedy series set in Wyoming. And because I love Wyoming, and I actually had a reader ask me, why did you set it there? And my logic, my snarky sense of humor says, where would I want to go to sign books if somebody invited me? And I thought, Jackson, Wyoming. So there you go. And you know, Cheyenne, they got cowboys there in Wrangler jeans, and they're pretty much PG-13 books. Most of my books are. You know, a little hotness there, but not much. And so each book in the series goes through each one of the Bear Brothers and the women that fall into their lives. And then there's also a Christmas book in the series, which incorporates a lot of them and a lot of the Native Americans in the area. So it was quite a fun series to write. The other book, I do have a historical. It's a standalone, and another standalone, Heart River Inn, which is also a romantic comedy. It's actually set in the Poconos, so that's fun. And then I've written one YA book that came out this year, and I write it as J.C. McKade, just to distinguish for my readers. And it's really hard to define what it is. It's a YA, but it's set in the turn of the century, 1920s, and in a crypt in New Orleans that ends up a crypt in London, England. And it's really a lot of fun. The crypt is not a time machine, but it's a form of transport. So a young lady gets transported from New Orleans to London, and her life takes on a new adventure there. It's called Second Life Charmed. So that's a fun one too.
That sounds fun.
Thank you.
So I was going to ask you, so do you have advice, since we're at the book and reader conference, for a reader and an author, like what to do when they come to a conference?
Basically, most of us, a lot of readers, but most writers are introverted. We sit in our writing cave and we read our books and we make up stories, so it's hard for us to get out there and talk to people. And get out and talk to people. Readers want to talk to you, authors want you to talk to them. I mean, it's I can't tell you what a thrill it is to have someone come up and say, I loved your book. I mean, seriously, it's an emotional, you know, I kind of want to cry. I'm like, really, somebody read it? and they liked it? And actually, the Bear series, my husband is a cancer survivor, and as I was writing it, we were sitting in the infusion room with chemo. And I actually was writing it, I made him laugh, and one of the ladies that was also in there getting chemo says, what are you laughing at? And he goes, my wife writes these weird books. And they actually read, I had typed pages and in the infusion room every week when we went. And one of the ladies laughed and said, you know, I'll cry. This got me through it. And so I was like, okay, and that was just validation, I guess, of the writing, that I was doing good because it made somebody laugh and get through a very difficult time in their life.
Wow.
Yeah.
you know, one of my questions is, what do you want readers to get out of your books? And sometimes you can't even imagine what someone's going to get out
You
of the
can't.
book.
And, you know, if it makes for an hour somebody escape reality or the world, because the world is really beautiful and 85% of the people are awesome, but then there's that, you know, 15 to 20% that isn't. And, you know, job and life and kids and bills, and they all get in the way. So I hope that at some point somebody laughs at one of my books and just gets out of the real world for a little bit. Yeah.
Well, and that's me. I read to escape reality, but I don't have a bad reality. But I just
I don't have.
you
You
just
know,
need a break.
I've been very blessed and very fortunate, and you know, I'm on my knees quite often in gratitude. But yeah, you know, I do that too. I am a reader. I'm a voracious reader. I was a librarian for years, and I always say libraries saved my life. So. Yeah, so hopefully the books at some point at least maybe not save a life, but at least make somebody laugh for a little while.
Wow. We have a lot of readers who also are, they want to be like an aspiring writer. So any advice you would give to them?
Right. That's it, period. I mean, they can give you all the advice. You can read all the books there are in the world, and I've done that. The best thing I can say, it's like any other profession. If you want to do it, right. I have written in the car, waiting on my kids. I've written at the football field. You know, I'm a band mom. Band nerds rock. And I've written there. I've written in the chemo room. Wherever it takes, right. That's it. And, you know, as I believe it was Nora once said, you know, you can correct bad writing, but you can't correct a blank page. So, right. Yeah, right.
So you are very funny, like in real life. So is it easy to just put that into the book? Do you put like something you would just normally say?
I do. I find writing comedy, you know, when you're talking like this, it's easy to get a facial inflection or a body movement that can make something you say funnier, and it's a lot more difficult to do it with words. But yeah, it would always be something I've done or experienced because I am a klutz. All of my readers will tell you that. They bring me bubble wrap, seriously. You know, there's a wing at the hospital. It's got my name on it. You know, so incidents like that, and I learned a long time ago, instead of getting angry at something that happens, just handle it with humor. Yeah, I guess maybe it started out as a defensive mechanism, and it just kind of went from there.
So for you, is writing like, does it excite you or does it exhaust you sometimes?
Both, depending on what I do. I mean, sometimes it's very exciting. You know, I drive in traffic to the grocery store, somebody ticks me off, and I kill them in a book. So that's kind of exhilarating, actually, since I can't have a Hummer with a turret on the top, you know. And sometimes if it's emotional or something, you know, that I've experienced that goes into the book, you know, a loss or, like I said, my husband going through cancer, and you write that emotion, that it can be very draining, yeah.
And so I read your bio. I kind of stalked you online a little bit. So tell us about
friendly stalkers.
So you love cars, and your husband was a mechanic. So tell us about that.
I do. I love cars. I'm a car fanatic. I came with my own toolbox to the marriage. I always tuned up my own car. I'm from a generation that they did not want, accept, unless you really kick some doors, a woman in that profession, like at a vocational school. I tried. They didn't want me. And I'm like, I knew how to tune a carburetor. So I just learned a lot of it on my own, and I enjoyed it. And I was like, wow, she sounds really good with new spark plugs. And then I would go to car shows. I mean, I love vintage cars. That's what I love. You know, my dream car is a '63 split window Corvette. I mean, yeah. So, and then when I met him, honestly, my car broke down. Tells you how good a mechanic I was, right? The master cylinder went out on the brakes, and at that time, my older car, you had to do what they call bench bleed it, which you had to get the air out of it. I had no way of doing that. I mean, I had a toolbox this big, okay? And so the company I worked for, he was a heavy equipment diesel mechanic, worked on their trucks. And he came over to deliver some stuff, and it was kind of cute. And I said, hey, you know how to put a master cylinder on? And his response was one word, yep. Now, this is the guy who'd been looking at me for weeks when he came over, right? You know? And I'm like, yep, okay. And then he called later and he goes, do you have a master cylinder problem? And I went, yeah. And that was true love started over, yeah. And so he put the master cylinder on for me, and the rest is history. 37 years later, here we are. Yeah, so.
Right. I love a true story like that. That's awesome. awesome.
It was fun.
Wow. So have you had a mechanic in your book or anything?
I have not. I thought about it because I loved, do you remember the movie My Cousin Benny?
Oh, yes.
I loved her. And I'm like, I really need to write somebody like her. So, yeah. That may show up soon.
Oh, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
And you'll be able to check out the blog where we'll have another interview and you'll get to hear her answer the question, what would readers be surprised to know about her? So check the blog in about a week. Bye.
Bye.